come, but I think that's because he's just so focused on the job in hand that nothing will get in the way. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's moments that he'll bite my head off.
Did test positive for a banned substance. What was your reaction to that and thoughts?
It's disgraceful, you know, it's turned the boxing world upside down. It brings a negative light on boxing. It's, you know, to see that happen, you know, with Conor Benn, I also, you know, we need some explanations. We need.
He's extremely stubborn. So he knows deep down, unless he's just a complete idiot.
When news broke that Conor Benn had been arrested, the first response didn't come from his promoter, his team, or even Benn himself. It came from his wife. Her words weren't just statements of support. They were a shield. She projected loyalty and strength, as if her voice alone could deflect the storm hammering Benn's reputation.
It will back him no matter what he decides. However, we will steer him away from being a fighter.
But reality is harsher than devotion. Love can stand tall, but in professional boxing, loyalty is no substitute for credibility. That's the brutal contrast with Chris Eubank Jr. Benn's longtime rival doesn't need anyone to defend him. He doesn't need family members or promoters rushing to his side. His clean record, intact license...
It's a disgrace. The guy, firstly, the guy is not well. Secondly, the guy really should be here. But the fact that he's not involved, the fact that he couldn't take any money, the fact that he couldn't be involved in any decisions, stand in front of the cameras, is making him sick as a parrot.
An ability to handle pressure under the brightest lights speak for themselves. For Eubank, reputation is not a defense, it's a weapon. For Benn, the opposite is true. His humiliation only deepens. The sting was sharpened when Eddie Hearn, the very man who once sold Benn as the future, branded him a disgrace. Public betrayal from a promoter cuts deeper than any rival's insult. Hearn suggested Benn was too ashamed to face cameras, too tainted to sit across...
The statement he's actually saying is that we're not sanctioning this fight. There's ongoing conversations with the lawyers and the British Boxing Board of Control. Obviously, we want everyone to be comfortable. Conor Benn, Chris Eubank Jr. are aware of all the...
...across a negotiation table and too weak to carry himself as a professional. For a fighter once marketed as a star in the making, this is humiliation on the grandest stage. Eubank, by contrast, thrives in the spotlight. He doesn't shrink. He steps into interviews, arenas, and rings with pride, composure, and unshakable self-belief. One man...
He's done. Now, the fact that he's given back his licence to the British Boxing Board of Control, who, in my opinion, are the best governing body in the world, bar none, it's kind of like a proof of admission, certainly. And for him to do what he's done, you know, they're talking about contamination, right? So if you've done it once, then you got caught out, then you do it again. It can't be contamination, can it? Because he's been caught twice for doing the same thing. So if it was me, take his license.
One stands tall, the other crumbles. Not even Eddie Hearn's influence can protect Benn from the fallout. When the British Boxing Board of Control refuses to sanction a fighter, it's not a small administrative issue, it's a scream. It paints the picture of a man under suspicion, tied up with lawyers, drowning in controversy. Eubank needs no such validation.
Not happened.
We don't know what stamina and what engine he's got on him, really.
It's not about the stamina and the engine, it's more about the thought process and gaining that experience of being there and doing it. Okay. It's like when you go into your first 12-rounder, no matter how fit you are.
He is ready to fight anywhere, under any sanctioning body, in any arena. That is what credibility looks like. Former world champion Duke McKenzie cut even deeper. To him, Benn surrendering his license was nothing short of admitting guilt. Once is a mistake, McKenzie argued. Twice is a pattern. In his eyes, Benn isn't just troubled. He's finished. His credibility stripped. His reputation shredded. Benn now looks less like a fighter and more like a man begging for sympathy. Meanwhile, Eubank commands respect. He holds his license, his reputation, and his pride. That contrast defines the current state of British boxing. Tony Bellew hammered the coffin shut. To him, there is no rematch, no redemption, no second chance. He even went as far as to question Benn's stamina, mindset, and basic fitness to compete at the top level.
Personally, I do not think that Conor Benn would have intentionally took steroids. And that's just my opinion. He's a young, fit, strong guy. I do not see why he would need to do that. And even moving up weight, I don't see why he would need to do that. He walks about that way anyway. But for me, the key is, like I say, I feel sorry for.
That isn't simple critique, it's character demolition. For a fighter once hyped as the next star, to hear such damning words from a respected voice is devastating. Lee Mallister offered a softer tone, saying he didn't believe Benn would intentionally cheat. On the surface, those words sound supportive, but in reality they sting even worse. When pity begins to replace respect, a fighter's career is already spiraling. Sympathy only highlights how far Benn has fallen. Once marketed as a warrior destined to carry his family name with pride, he now draws pity instead of admiration. Johnny Nelson's stunned reaction captured the wider chaos. His confusion, his shock, and his immediate call for answers reflected the disbelief running through boxing. Not disbelief that Benn was arrested, but disbelief that the sport had sunk so low. Once trust is broken, every move becomes subject to suspicion. Every fight, every performance, every test.
There is going to be, there needs to be an inquiry straight after this, why, what. But that's what I'm hearing. This news is as fresh to me as it is you. I'm quite sure when this goes out, it'll be all over the place anyway. But all I can say is he passed the...
Gets questioned. Fans don't buy Benn's defense. Pundits don't buy it. The stain remains and the sport itself suffers because of it. Meanwhile, Eubank trains, fights, and wins. That's the path Benn has lost. Eubank, calm and calculating, delivered his message with ruthless simplicity. Take the offer or leave it. He wins either way. It wasn't just a challenge. It was dominance. The humiliation for Benn is clear. The rival he was once meant to define himself against doesn't even need him anymore. Eubank is building his own legacy, attracting bigger fights, bigger stages, and cementing his place in British boxing history, with or without Conor Benn. While Benn clings to lawyers and loopholes, Eubank marches forward with focus and fire. That's the difference between distraction and legacy. Spencer Oliver and Simon Jordan.
There's no message. The offer's been sent, and you either take it or leave it. And if you leave it, then I'm going to be great either way.
Is it done forever if this is a no this time?
I'm not going to say that. The fight's never done forever. As long as we're still breathing, the fight is going to be of interest to...
And reinforce the harshest truth in boxing. There are no second chances for cheats. Fail a test, and your career is over. In their eyes, Benn isn't battling for redemption. He's already finished. And that's the reality fans are left with. One fighter drowning in excuses, stripped of credibility. The other rising, his name intact, his pride unshaken. The contrast is as clear as ever. For scandals, there are no excuses. That was the message from Spencer Oliver and Simon Jordan, and their stance drove a dagger straight into Conor Benn's already fragile career. To them, boxing has no space for men who bring shame. The comparison is brutal. Chris Eubank Jr. doesn't need second chances, because he never failed the first test. His career has been built on discipline, dedication, and clean professionalism. Oliver and Jordan made it clear, the sport needs fighters like Eubank.
I've always been strong on that. I've always been strong on the fact that I don't believe in giving them a second chance.
You're basically saying no 3 strikes and you're out.
No 3 strikes
and you're out.
No.
One, you fail a test and gone ski.
Absolutely, because I just believe then that moving forward, people would think twice about doing it. If they think, well, you know what, I'll get a second chance anyway.
Eubank Jr. Not controversies like Benn. Duke McKenzie didn't just question Benn's integrity. He questioned his talent. He argued Benn was never a true puncher, that his wild head-down swings belonged more in playground scraps than in championship-level bouts. Then came the deepest cut. You're not your dad. Nigel Benn built his legacy on grit, power, and respect. Conor may carry the name, but he hasn't carried the glory. McKenzie's breakdown stripped Benn not just of credibility but of identity. To be told you've mugged yourself off after promising knockouts, but delivering reckless flurries is humiliation at its rawest. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr. continues to show skill, composure, and professionalism. The comparison is inescapable and devastating. Trainer Adam Booth dissected Benn's performances with clinical precision. He claimed Benn's legs were gone, his punches lacked snap, and his size advantage was wasted. Yes, Benn showed heart, Booth admitted, but heart without skill doesn't win championships. His tactics were flawed, his output sloppy.
Style Conor Benn. Conor Benn's not a massive puncher, not even at welterweight. So really, he's kind of mugged himself off a little bit by saying, I'm going to knock this guy out. He didn't give Eubank enough respect. Like I say, he was throwing shots at several points in that fight, and he wasn't even looking where they were going. It was just like head down, just winging the shots over.
His mental collapse undeniable. Booth's faint optimism that Ben might be better next time was little more than courtesy. The truth is simple. Once your aura is stripped away, there is no next time. And while Ben clings to hope of improvement, Eubank Jr. thrives on proven reality. That is the gulf between excuses and greatness. Then Frank Warren spoke, and the verdict carried finality. He dismissed the entire Ben Eubank saga as a non-runner. Coming from one of the sport's most respected promoters, that wasn't mere opinion, it was humiliation written in stone. For Warren, the lawsuits, the hearings, the constant battles with the board all screamed the same conclusion: Ben is finished. Fans don't see legacy in him anymore. They see legal wrangling, excuses, and scandal. Eubank Jr., by contrast, continues under the lights, free from hearings and distractions, building his record and reputation. And so here we are. The dust has settled, and the truth is clear. Conor Benn's career has shifted from promise to scandal, from hype to humiliation. Every excuse, every failed test.
Not anymore, because his legs weren't working. He was throwing a lot of shots, but nothing had any real power or snap because he didn't have it in him. And so he couldn't force his size.
Every sympathetic word only deepens the stain. This is no longer about proving innocence. It's about surviving. On the other side stands Chris Eubank Jr., a man who has carried himself with dignity, discipline, and unshakable focus. He doesn't need lawyers or pity. He proves himself in the ring. He commands respect because he has earned it. If Eubank Jr. wins his next big fight, his legacy surges forward. He cements himself as the face of British boxing. Even if Ben somehow engineers a comeback, the stain of scandal won't disappear. The debate will rage on. The question for fans is simple: who truly deserves the spotlight? One man is chasing greatness, the other is trapped in scandal. And as Eubank Jr. himself said, fight or no fight, he's destined for bigger things.